In a piece in South Shore News, New York Governor Kathy Hochul has allocated nearly $17 million in taxpayer funds to subsidize the production of V8 engines at a General Motors plant in Tonawanda, New York. This is despite the state's mandate that all new passenger vehicles sold must be zero emissions by 2035. This policy contradiction has raised concerns about the consistency of the state's environmental and economic strategies. Stefan Mychajliw is the news director for South Shore Press. He joins us now. Hi, Stefan.
Thanks for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, how do you assess the state's decision to invest in manufacturing vehicles that will be banned from sale within a decade? And what message does this send about New York's commitment to its own environmental goals?
Yeah, it's loony liberal logic, highly irrational, and makes no sense whatsoever. The state, as you had mentioned, spending $17 million helping to produce V8 engines in gas-guzzling SUVs that New York taxpayers won't be able to buy. Because of these EV mandates, 35% of all car sales in New York by next year have to be electric. By 2030, 68% EVs. And by 2035, you can only buy an EV vehicle in New York State. So only in the People's Republic of New York, of these radical progressives, does it make sense to spend $17 million of taxpayer dollars building engines for gas-guzzling SUVs that these liberals say are bad for you and you should not buy. You know, as Cindy Adams from the New York Post would always say, you know, only in New York, kids, only in New York.
So considering the rather substantial public funds being directed towards this project, how can the state ensure that investments like these yield long-term benefits for New Yorkers, especially in light of the impending shift to electric vehicles?
Yeah, it's certainly going to make a lot of sense for General Motors. And as you mentioned, the plant is in Tonawanda outside of Buffalo, and it's going to be a shot in the arm, quite frankly, for this private sector company, $17 million. And the total investment is $888 million for GM. And that's wonderful. But it's the height of liberal hypocrisy, almost kind of along the lines of rules for thee, but not for me. Like, no, you can't buy that gas-guzzling SUV. You can't buy that. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for Mother Earth. Oh, but by the way, we're going to use your tax dollars to subsidize the building of engines for these gas-guzzling SUVs that you cannot buy. It just makes no sense, and it rubs people the wrong way here in New York State. Saying one thing and doing another, but this time it involves $17 million in tax dollars.
Well, in another report in South Shore Press, Congressman Andrew Garbarino led cybersecurity talks in Silicon Valley recently, focused on ransomware, AI risks, and electric grid vulnerabilities. He urged stronger public-private cooperation to modernize U.S. infrastructure defenses. Now, given the emphasis on strengthening public-private partnerships in cybersecurity, what specific strategies do you recommend to enhance collaboration between government entities and private tech companies?
Well, I think that's a very good start by Congressman Garbarino. He's very popular in the South Shore and Long Island. And that's a good example of government working with the private sector to protect Americans. I think people highly respect the Trump administration when it comes to spending tax dollars and spending their resources in smart ways that protects them, that protects the homeland, whether it's dealing with a very serious issue of cybersecurity and keeping Americans safe in that way, or if it's spending tax dollars when it comes to securing the southern border and keeping illegal immigrants out and making sure that American jobs are protected, making sure that there is a stoppage of the deadly, fatal flow of fentanyl in every corner of America. I think taxpayers respect that and they want that. That's exactly why they put Donald Trump in the Oval Office. What New Yorkers did not do, going back to that original story, what they don't want is their tax dollars saying, yeah, we're going to build, again, these V8 engines that go in gas-guzzling SUVs, and New York State with their ridiculous EV mandates saying, oh, by the way, you can't drive the SUVs that you're basically investing. And it's not just gas-guzzling SUVs. There's going to be an electricity mandate that in New York State, in new builds, they'll have to have electric stoves and electric hot water tanks. It's ridiculous, the height of hypocrisy in New York.
Yeah, they were saying years ago that that's a hoax. So that's not a hoax?
Oh, in the People's Republic of New York, in new builds, they're not going to be going in like the Gestapo, taking away your gas stove and coming in with bolt cutters and cutting that out. So yes, that is, for lack of a better phrase, an old wives' tale. There's no gasoline police in New York. But in new builds in New York, it's got to be all electric.
So with discussions highlighting the need to modernize and streamline cybersecurity regulations, how can policymakers balance the elimination of outdated red tape with the enforcement of effective security standards?
Well, I think it's going back to basic Republican and conservative values. The role of government, in my very humble opinion, is to basically create a culture, whether it's protecting cybersecurity or unleashing oil and gas, drill baby drill, or just letting businesses grow. Government should be creating a culture where the private sector can survive and thrive and saying, hey, okay, here's our government resources, whether it's dollars, people, bright minds, and saying, okay, the private sector has the answer, never big government. I mean, look at the Cash for Clunkers program so many moons ago under the Obama administration. It was a total disaster, basically ran out of money right away in the very opening weekend. So I have the philosophy of, if the government can't run a used car sale, we should not put government in charge of our healthcare, drilling, or an issue like cybersecurity. So they should work in tandem with the experts, the private sector, and say, here's the resource of the government, money, people, minds, and then you tell us how we can help you, not the other way around.
Yeah, I remember that Cash for Clunkers program. I remember at the Tea Party rallies back in 2009, that being the argument, if a government that can't even run a Cash for Clunkers program is going to run 1/5 of our economy. So, yeah, it's madness, I tell you. Now, considering concerns about foreign manufactured components in critical infrastructure, what measures should be implemented to ensure the security and integrity of the U.S. supply chain?
Well, when it comes to foreign components, whether it's cars, cybersecurity, trust the homeland, America first, whether it's the components for a lot of the cybersecurity elements when it comes to the United States or building a car. Again, I would make sure that government works with the private sector experts and deal on their expertise and their knowledge when it comes to mapping out the strongest and best game plan to protect the homeland. And it's a huge issue. We look at attacks and hacks all the time. I was very blessed and fortunate to work as the deputy comms director and spokesman for the Vivek Ramaswamy campaign. And it's very serious, the threats, when it comes to the Chinese and the Russians. And we were on very, very high alert on numerous levels with all of our own technology within a presidential campaign, that the Russians and the Chinese were consistently looking to hack into our computers and to hack into those intelligence efforts of presidential campaigns across America, both Democrats and Republicans. So the threat is real. I saw it firsthand, and I can only imagine how big it is when it comes to our national defense. And that's why we need to do everything we can to protect the homeland and protect our defense.
Well, Stefan Mychajliw, South Shore Press is the website. Anything else you'd like to add or plug?
Yeah, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come on. And it never blows my mind at all at the liberal lunacy and hypocrisy of those on the far left. I mean, they're even trying to limit how many cows farmers can buy in New York State. I mean, that's how absurd they are in the People's Republic of New York. But we have 3 young kids at home. I'm married, and I feel trapped. I feel like I'm a prisoner in New York because we don't want to rip the kids away from the grandkids or from the grandparents and the rest of our family. But, I hope and pray that we can become a red state in 2026 and have a new governor.
Yeah. Well, you're telling me, a Californian.
I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thanks so much for stopping by, and South Shore Press. Check it out.
Thanks so much.
You got it. And coming up, should President Trump challenge the Catholic Church on immigration? Tom Del Beccaro joins us.